Good morning. It is Thursday. This is my second to last vlog of Vlogmas 2025, and that feels exciting and a little bittersweet. I've really enjoyed doing these. I've enjoyed the reflection piece and the opportunity to just put this kind of idea out there. I'm not finding a lot of other teachers doing this, and yet so many teachers are doing such cool and exciting things in their classroom and working through problems in really interesting and thoughtful ways. So I would like to see more, hint, hint, other teachers out there. I would like to see more Vlogmas type stuff, vlogs in general. So yesterday was so cool. Yesterday was so cool. My class, in collaboration with the English language learners class, so about 50 kids in total, went to at kind of the edge of the school property, and with the guidance of the district outdoor specialist, learned how to make small fires. Only a couple kids ended up doing friction fires with the bow drills. Most of the kids, though, all of the kids, made fires from tinder that they had gathered and flint rods, those little rods that are not that expensive and that you throw a spark onto the pile of tinder. They were working in these metal pans, like designed for one-time use, like little casserole pans that you can get, at Walmart or whatever. And they made a little tinder pile in there with pine needles and cedar inner bark fluffy stuff, and the district outdoor specialist Justin had brought some cotton balls too, I think just as a fail-safe to make sure we had something there that could be fluffed up to catch a spark. And it was amazing to watch the kids persevere and create their spark, and then when the first kid in the group would get it, everybody would cheer and they would be so excited. And then he had a big fire pit in the middle, which we later made s'mores on, and as each group, and there were 9 groups total, as each group created their small fire of their tinder bundle, they kind of dumped it onto his bigger fire. So that was this neat kind of manifestation of this collective endeavor that we were doing too. And then immediately the kids who in the group who were the ones who threw the spark that actually ignited it, they would go back and encourage their teammates. And I think almost all of the kids, I think there were probably a handful that didn't quite get it, their spark didn't actually ignite, but most of them did. And they were so excited and proud of themselves and encouraging of one another. And the mood and the energy was just infectious and amazing. And I think it being a primal skill made the kind of cross-cultural leap really easy, because of course, in the English language learners class, we have students who are from a couple countries in the Middle East, several countries in Africa, many countries in South America, and several from Mexico. And so the groups were mixed, and the kids were just right there with each other in this skill building and, like I said, encouragement, and this interpersonal connection was so cool to watch. So we learned a lot. If I did it again, I would do many things differently. Not that part felt like pitch perfect. But afterward, we had a couple of things I thought, oh, I could have planned this a little bit more, or I could have had another activity slotted a little sooner here. But that's how you do it. You just jump in, you have an idea, and you talk with smart people, and you put your heads together and you make something happen, and then you learn from it and you put those learnings into practice the next time. So all in all, it felt like a huge success. The district sent a photographer to come take pictures too. So I've been watching their social media, and it's not posted yet, which is not a surprise, but when it is, I'll see if I can put those up somewhere where folks can find them. So the rest of the day yesterday in my classes, the kids played games, and I took some reading data from them. We did one-on-one grade level reading checkouts. So I had their data from before and after the winter break. So I got through about half of my students yesterday, and I'll try to get through the other half today. Today, our activity is going to be to create small personal zines that are reflections on 2025. So let me show you. This is my sample for the students, and I've just found a template online that I could pop into Canva and then manipulate a little bit. I did have to, this was my first printout, and you can see it didn't line up exactly perfectly, but you don't know that until you test it with your own documents and your own printer. So I made a test kind of as it was laid out, and then I tweaked it. So this is the sample that I have for the students, and of course, you've seen these before. You start with one whole page. So this is how it printed with the printed part there, and then you fold it like a hamburger. You cut it just a little bit past the halfway point here, and then when you squish it down and you are kind of mindful, careful with your creases, you can make it into this book form. So I'm gonna have them, we're gonna watch a short video on the history of zines. You have to preview this one a lot because zines are of course rooted in strong countercultural traditions, punk traditions, very much like anarchist, anti-authoritarian, all of these really countercultural movements and swells have used zines because it is a quick and easy and very accessible way to reach a lot of people with your message, which is especially important if your message is not endorsed by the powers that be. So you have to preview your videos carefully because there's a lot of countercultural stuff that is maybe not quite appropriate for a middle school age. That being said, there's a ton of stuff out there that is. So I spent last night finding a couple of good videos to give some visual and tutorial and some other voices and other identities besides me saying that this is a real and cool and important art form. I find that diffusing the authority there sometimes adds to the buy-in a little bit. It's not just their teacher trying to tell them another thing. So we're gonna watch that. We're gonna talk a little bit about zines, and we're gonna talk a little bit too about the importance of reflecting after an experience. We're gonna do that in context of reflecting on our experience, our field experience yesterday as well, how so much of the learning happens in the reflection. So that discussion will serve two purposes there, but we're gonna be reflecting on 2025 as a whole, and then the pages, I have sentence starters here. 2025 began with, 2025 is ending with, a memory from the past spring is, and this summer I remember fall is almost over, and one thing I'm thinking about is, and then finally, the people, hopes, and skills I'm bringing into 2026 are, and then their back cover. So we will do our short direct instruction and background material generating on zines, and then I'm going to turn them loose to make their zines. And I think during that time I'm going to circulate at the beginning of that, but some of them are probably going to finish pretty quickly. I have some that would zip through this activity, and at that point I think I might start pulling kids to take their reading data. So that's what we're doing for today. It's also Ugly Sweater Day for our winter spirit week. So this is a sweater that I originally bought because I used to make these wool cloth diaper covers when my kids were really little. But then and that was back when you could get a lot of stuff like this at thrift stores, kind of a little bit before there was more of a cottage vintage pipeline for getting stuff like this before it hit the Goodwill. So I have a few of these still, but I just had them in a box, and then my kids grew up and I didn't end up using them to make cloth diaper covers. So moths got to it and it got covered with holes. So I used this to practice like kind of artful mending, and my technique improved over the course of the sweater. So some of these are pretty rough, But I think overall it looks pretty cool, and it definitely works for ugly sweater day. What else? Yesterday I went to the gym, which I bring up because I talked about how that is my new kind of main hobby. And I go at least 3 times a week, sometimes 4, maybe occasionally 5. But in just the swell of activity yesterday, I forgot my 11-year-old's lesson. I didn't show up. I forgot that it was there. I forgot this is the last week of school, and I thought that lessons were canceled the week before, and I should have checked, and I didn't. So I spent a little while kind of beating myself up over that and being upset that I am not better at keeping a calendar and keeping a schedule and other things related to very systematic, consistent, disciplined thinking. And that's another time when going to the gym was just the right thing to do, because I was so mad at myself and all stuck up in my head about that. And then I went to the gym and I did my workout, and I got back in the car and thought to myself, I just forgot a lesson. That, like, at the end of the day, that's all I did. I wasted some money, yeah. I, inconvenienced his teacher, yeah. But at the end of the day, it was just forgetting a lesson. And I think we get really caught up in how busy things are and how many competing obligations we have for our time, and how difficult it is to manage the many, many, many moving pieces of modern life, many of which we choose. I didn't have to choose these lessons for him, but I did. So it's complicated, but it was a good choice to go to the gym, and I felt much better afterward. And I was reminded again how life-affirming that practice has become for me. So were I to make one of these books today, that would be one that I am carrying with me into 2026. A hope for 2026 is that I keep thinking of my own health and well-being and prioritizing that. So, all right, I hope that you have a terrific day today. Tomorrow's going to be my last vlog, so we'll see you then.